Yo, hit that thumbs up button, y'all. Yo, I ain't gonna hold you, Chief. I didn't watch all of this. That was a conversation between a grown man and a grown ass man. That was a conversation between a man who isn't kind of sure about himself and is still learning, and a man who knows who the fuck he is. Who's in his mid 50s, who's getting ready for a comeback fight against, Roy Jones Jr. Man, and what makes Mike's podcast so great and unique, he drops the gems, he brings the authenticity, he's funny, he's done stand-up comedy, he's done cartoons, he's got a cartoon he had on Adult Swim with him chasing around pigeons and shit, all of that. He's done The Hangover, he's reinvented himself, and I'm happy Mike has reinvented himself. But at times, like what his podcast delivers that no other podcast in the world, and you got like 28 million podcasts, the intensity that Mike brings. Because at some point, it feels like Mike was just going to jump over the table and choke Boosie out. And this is why he's chilling, smoking a blunt. That's how intense Mike is. I'm like, you could see the body language, the nervousness, the temperament in Lil Boosie. This wasn't the same wild Lil Boosie that you see on Instagram telling girls, put your pussy lips on live, you're $4,000. This wasn't that. Okay, it's like Lil Boosie got sent to the principal's office, straight up. Like Mike was just, and then when you get into Lil Boosie, man, the reason why I really couldn't watch it, his grammar is so awful. You could tell he was one of those kids that he had to put his index finger under the words when he had to read out loud in class. I mean, it was just terrible, man. I'm like, I don't know, and there's nothing against my niggas from the South. I got a lot of homeboys from the South. But just because you from the South does not excuse you from having proper grammar, man. Like some Boosie talks like it's just he just destroys the English language. It's like he's talking like he's a runaway slave. I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? I don't think he knows what he's saying. I don't think he thinks before he speaks. He's not articulate enough to really sit through a whole interview for 47 minutes. I just couldn't do it. First of all, it was random. I'm like, out of all people, Lil Boosie, like, what does he got going on other than whatever? Mike's interviewed Eminem, Wiz Khalifa, some superstars. Not knocking Boosie, but that was just random. And first thing they get into is his comments about Dwayne Wade's son slash daughter. And I'm like, oh shit, did they set Boosie up for this? Did they? And of course, Mike got into it. So what's your problem with LBGT and all this? Why do you call out Dwayne Wade's son? You shouldn't talk about other people's kids like that. And I'm like, oh shit, and it's I don't want to say I don't know if Mike is pro LBGT or whatever, but I mean they're the mob. They're untouchable. You seen Jesse Smollett get off 16 fucking federal charges. That don't happen to another black man if he's not affiliated with that. They flexed their muscles and showed you how powerful they are. So I think another reason Mike probably can relate to LBGT is because Mike is, he was an outsider his whole life. His friends were pigeons. He was an outsider growing up in Brownsville. I guess he kind of can relate to a certain degree of being a little different. But Boosie didn't back off his word. I will say that he kept his opinion on what he said, and he felt like, yeah, because the boy is only 12 years old. And I agreed. I said it before on this channel. I think the boy is too young to be having an identity crisis or either trying to become a transgender or whatever you want to call it. He's too young for that. But he stood his ground. Mike grilled him. And then Mike got into it and about, who are you? Who are you? Who is the man? Who is little Boosie? All that shit. And I got to about 10 minutes and I just couldn't do it no more. Between, feeling sorry for Boosie because it looked like he was at the principal's office being grilled, and then his broken grammar, I just couldn't take it. I just can't listen to Lil Boosie sit there in a serious mannered interview for 47 minutes. Now, if he's on the Breakfast Club or something like that, acting like his normal self in his normal climate, in a hip hop climate world, cool. Lil Boosie's one of the most entertaining rappers on Instagram. His Instagram live is must see. You know what I mean? Last I checked, he did it OnlyFans and had girls on there doing all kind of stunts and shit. But in this kind of professional setting, it just, like I say, it was a conversation between a grown man and a grown ass man, and it was kind of awkward to say the least. Honestly, I just couldn't get through it. But if y'all watch it, let me know if y'all could get through it and sit down and watch Mike just school Lil Boosie for an hour. and just he drops gems. And that's another thing. Mike is very intelligent, but he has his moments where it's so intense you don't know what can happen at any moment. You're like, at any moment you feel like Mike can just jump over the table and knock somebody the fuck out. Like when he had Sugar Ray Leonard on there a couple months ago, and that was the viral clip where he started crying and he was talking about how he studied the art of war and all of that. And I'm like, yo, is he about to fucking choke Sugar Ray out? Like, what is he? You know what I mean? He just snapped. And I'm like, maybe I don't get it. Mike's got a lot of demons. He discusses that also, but I pray for Roy Jones Jr. because when he gets in that ring with Mike, he might not live another day. Mike is gonna just he's got 20 years of pent up anger and tension that he's gonna go off on. And the next person that has any kind of physical contact with Mike Tyson is a dead man. It's just that fucking simple. You know what I mean? Maybe he smokes a lot. Maybe you might be able to gash him if you can get past a couple of rounds, but it's gonna be a tough one for Roy. I think that's why the fight really got pushed back. But yeah, this was a random ass interview. Out of all the rappers, you could have asked me to guess who's Mike gonna interview next. I would have probably said, I don't know, Nas. I don't know. You know what I mean? But Boosie was just random as fuck. I just was like, okay. Yeah, that's what makes me think, was this set up? Because that was the first thing that came out of Mike's mouth was the Dwayne Wade shit. You shouldn't talk about people's kids. And he's kind of right, but when you parade your kids around and floss them around like the way Dwayne Wade did with Gabby, and I'm like, okay, what are y'all doing this for? And I said it in the video last year. I said they doing this for something, some kind of reality show or something. And now Dwayne Wade's got a documentary, and I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. But let me know what y'all think if y'all watched the Mike Tyson Lil Boosie interview. Leave the comments, hit the notification and all that good stuff, man. Y'all gotta stop cursing so damn much in the comment section, man, because they do not approve him. And it's not that I'm ignoring you if I don't hit you back. It's because I just can't. YouTube has just gotten too strict like that these days. So let me know what y'all think.